So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time in around 20 minutes. So through this lecture series, you will be spending 20 to 25 minutes watching this lecture and your entire day's current affairs would get covered. The idea behind this lecture series is very simple. You see, current affairs are very important. They form the most important portion of your civil services examination, right? And to really feel confident about current affairs, you need to cover them on a daily basis. Okay, so therefore, we have come up with this lecture series under which we cover the current affairs of that day in a short span of time, because you can't spend your entire day reading the newspaper. Yes, current affairs are important. You can't spend your entire day reading the newspaper because you need time for other aspects of your UPSC syllabus as well, right? So through this lecture series, we'll be covering current affairs on a daily basis and we won't spend much of your time. Okay. Now, all you have to do is spend 20 to 25 minutes watching this lecture and another 20 to 25 minutes revising this lecture, because revision is very important, very, very important if you want to permanently etch these current affairs in your memory. Okay, if you want to consolidate these current affairs. Now, where can you revise these current affairs? Well, we'll be sharing a PDF file on our Telegram channel. All you have to do is go to our Telegram channel, download this PDF and spend 20 to 25 minutes revising this lecture. So 20 to 25 minutes watching this lecture plus 20 to 25 minutes revising this lecture and you'll be free for the entire day. You can spend it as you want, as you like. All right. Now, where can you find our Telegram channel? Well, under this video in the comment section, I've shared a link to our Telegram channel. You just have to click on that link. It will take you to our Telegram channel and from there you can download the PDF for this lecture. All right. Okay. So let's begin this lecture starting with the topics we shall cover in this particular lecture. Okay. So these were the important news items that featured in November 13th newspaper. All right. Number one topic was about Commissioner for Railway Safety. It is a statutory body basically, or it is a government body which takes care of railway safety, railway accidents and all that. Now, covering this news item would cover GS3 paper. Okay, so it will cover because in your syllabus it is clearly mentioned that you need to study government bodies, what sort of government bodies do what sort of functions, right? So it will cover GS2 and infrastructure is also an important portion of your syllabus which comes in GS3 paper. So this is important for that. Then we'll talk about PM-SHRI scheme. So this PM-SHRI scheme is about upgrading government schools. Okay, and this is again important from the perspective of GS2. Then, right now, as you all know, that COP29 is happening at Baku, Azerbaijan. So, what is the agenda for this? We'll talk about this. Now, this would cover the environment portion of your syllabus. And in the end, we'll talk about conversion of FPI to FDI. So, what is foreign portfolio investment? What is foreign direct investment? And what recent ruling has RBI and SEBI released, which would make it easier for foreign investors? We'll talk about this issue. This is important from the perspective of economics, which is part of your GS3 syllabus. Okay, so we'll be talking about these four news items. We'll focus all our attention on these four news items. So let's start the discussion, starting with number one, Commissioner for Railway Safety. Now look, Commissioner for Railway Safety or CRS is a body that investigates rail accidents and also suggests measures to improve railway safety so that no future accidents occur basically. Now in June of this year, a goods train called Kanchenjunga Express collided with another train in West Bengal, and that was a huge accident. Okay, huge rail accident. Now, Commission for Railway Safety, CRS, was mandated to investigate this railway accident, and it has come out with a report. In its report, it said that this was an accident in waiting. Basically, there were so many lapses, so many tasks that were pending, that this accident was bound to happen. This report actually pointed out the negligence of various government officials and various government procedures. Okay, so this report has highlighted that government needs to gear up and railways should to prevent future accidents because there were so many lapses in this particular accident. Plus, government has actually come out with an anti-collision system, anti-train collision system, automatic system called Kavach. So this CRS report has said that government needs to fast track the implementation of Kavach. Kavach is being implemented in India, but it has not covered all the trains and all the railway tracks. So we need to fast track Kavach system. So these were the two highlights of this CRS report. Now, what is important for us to know is what is CRS? So this news item would be dedicated in explaining what CRS is. Okay, so what is CRS basically? So CRS is a government body. It is headquartered in Lucknow and it acts as a railway safety authority. Okay, it deals with matters related to safety of rail travel, rail operations, and other statutory functions as laid down in Railways Act 1989. So there are many functions related to rail safety which are highlighted in Railways Act 1989. These functions are also performed by CRS. Okay. Now, this CRS, this is a very important point. Generally, if it is asked under which ministry CRS comes, then the automatic answer for all of us to give would be Ministry of Railways, right? But that's not the case. CRS does not function under Ministry of Railways. In fact, it functions under Ministry of Civil Aviation. And this has been done specially to prevent conflict of interest. Because in case there is a railway accident, then CRS would be investigating against Ministry of Railways. Okay. So people say that CRS might get lenient in investigating against Ministry of Railways. Therefore, to prevent conflict of interest, it has been put under Ministry of Civil Aviation. I hope you understand what conflict of interest is, right? Because an organization cannot investigate against its own parent organization. That is why it is kept categorically kept outside the purview of Ministry of Railways, because time and again it has to investigate against Ministry of Railways. Okay, so this is what Commissioner for Railway Safety does. Now, this report, which was this report of CRS regarding the June 2024 accident of Kanchenjunga Express, talked about implementation of Kavach system, because Kavach system is an automatic system which would prevent collision of trains, right? Government came out with this technology and government is actually implementing this technology all over India. Now, CRS report says that it needs to be fast tracked. Okay, so what is this Kavach system? We'll talk about this. So it is an automatic train protection system indigenously developed by Research, Designs and Standards Organization. Okay, so remember, this automatic train protection system is designed by RDSO. Initially, it was called Train Collision Avoidance System, but recently its name was changed to Kavach. Now, Kavach was adopted by Ministry of Railways as National Automatic Train Protection System. So it is the National Automatic Train Protection System. Okay. Now, how does Kavach function? Now, it has three components. First of all the railway tracks would have radio frequency identification technology, RFID technology. So whenever a train would be coming on that track, this RFID tag would get activated and send a signal to other trains. So that whenever a train is coming on one track and another train is coming on another track, what would happen is both these trains would get alerted that they are on the same track, right? It is because of the RFID tag. Then this RFID tag would be connected to an RFID reader on each train, a computer, and brakes on those trains. So whenever two trains are on the same track, okay, and they're about to collide, what happens is that RFID tag alerts the braking system of both these trains, and these trains would stop. The brakes would be put on automatically before collision. So it is an automatic system. It relies very little on human intervention. Okay, we are not relying on the pilots of these locomotives, we are not relying on the drivers of these trains, we are relying on an automatic system. Plus, the communication between these two trains and RFID tags and RFID readers on these two trains would be taken care of through radio infrastructure. There would be towers and modems strategically placed at railway stations. Okay, so this is the Kavach system. All right. Okay. Now let's move on to our second news item, which is PM-SHRI School. Okay. So basically the thing is that government has come out with this scheme, PM-SHRI scheme, under which various government schools would get upgraded. Okay, they would have modern facilities, they would take care of the curriculum, they would take care of the learning needs of the students, teachers, infrastructure would get upgraded and whatnot. Okay, and central government has dedicated some budget for this. But recently a controversy erupted between central government and Punjab government. Okay, the thing is that all these schools who are upgraded under PM-SHRI scheme would have PM-SHRI word in their name. Now the central government wants that. But the state government of Punjab, which is an Aam Aadmi Party government, they don't want PM-SHRI word in the name of the schools getting upgraded. They think that it is kind of a marketing exercise by the central government. So they say upgrade all the schools you want in Punjab, but don't use this term PM-SHRI in the name of the schools. Now, when central government got to know about it, they stopped the funding for upgradation of these schools, and there was a political tussle between the two governments. Now this tussle has been resolved. 233 government schools of Punjab would get upgraded, and they would carry the name PM-SHRI. Okay. Now, this was the political aspect of the news, which is not important for us. What is important for us is to know what is this PM-SHRI scheme. Okay. So PM-SHRI is a centrally sponsored scheme. So basically, there are two types of schemes: centrally sponsored schemes and central sector schemes. Okay. Central sector schemes are those schemes which are 100% funded by the central government. Okay. And centrally sponsored schemes are those schemes which are generally 60% funded by central government and 40% funded by state government. Okay. This is for all the states in India and all the UTs which have a legislature like Delhi and Pondicherry. Okay. Except states in the northeastern region, Himalayan states, and J&K. These states have a funding pattern of 90% to 10%. So 90% by central government and 10% by state government. Okay, so northeastern states, Himalayan states, and J&K, UT of J&K would have this funding pattern. All the other normal states would have this funding pattern. Okay, so it is a centrally sponsored scheme to upgrade at least 14,500 government existing schools across the country as green schools. Now, these green schools will have state-of-the-art infrastructure. Duration of the scheme is 2022-23 to 26-27, and the budget for this scheme is 27,000 crores. The aim is to create schools where new education policy 2020 would be followed in true spirit, and students will be rooted to the heritage of India, values of Bharat, Indian languages, India's culture would be taught in these schools. Okay, so this is the idea behind PM-SHRI scheme. Now, certain other important features of this scheme. Basically, which schools would be eligible for selection under PM-SHRI scheme? Schools managed by central government, state government, UT government, and local bodies. All Kendriya Vidyalayas, Navodaya Vidyalayas, which are non-project and run from permanent buildings. Okay. Funding pattern, I've told you, 60-40 between center and state governments, UTs with legislature except J&K, 90-10 for northeastern Himalayan states and UT of JK, 100% for other UTs which do not have a legislature. Now, the performance of these schools would be assessed on the basis of school quality assessment framework, which the government has specially created to monitor the progress made in these PM-SHRI schools. Okay, so you have to remember each and every aspect of this. All right. Okay. Now let's move on to our next news item, which is agenda for COP29. As you all know, we have discussed this, that Conference of Parties for UNFCCC, Climate Change Conference, is happening in Baku, Azerbaijan. Okay, delegates from about 200 countries, climate scientists, indigenous people, journalists are all attending this. The primary goal of COP29 is to bring together countries to develop a shared plan for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and curbing global warming. Okay. Now, let's gather some information about COP, what COP is. So, COP or Conference of Parties is the annual meeting of UNFCCC. UNFCCC is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We have talked about it. This convention was signed or was released during the Rio Earth Summit, okay, in 1992. Currently, there are 198 parties, 197 countries plus European Union, so it has a near universal membership. One of the significant tasks for COP is to review the national communication. So every country communicates what is it doing regarding climate change. So COP actually reviews the commitments made by these different countries, and it also maintains an inventory of greenhouse gas emissions. So how much greenhouse gas or carbon is being emitted by each country. Based on this information, decisions are made or policies are made in COP. Okay. Now, what have been the achievements of COP so far? So 1997, the third COP came out with Kyoto Protocol. So this COP happened in Kyoto, Japan, and it came out with a Kyoto Protocol. It is an international treaty which binds developed countries, rich and industrialized countries, not developing countries, only developed countries, to cut their greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, so Kyoto Protocol of 1997 was a result of COP3. and it came out with this. Then another significant achievement was COP21 Paris Agreement of 2015. It was a legally binding international treaty to limit global temperatures below 2 degrees Celsius and preferably below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now, under this agreement, different countries communicated their own targets. Okay. So they communicated how much greenhouse gas emissions would they reduce. So these were their own targets. Every country would submit their own targets, which would be called nationally determined contributions, and they would give their submissions by 2020. And after giving their submissions, they are legally bound to honor their commitments. This was Paris Agreement. Then COP26 happened in Glasgow. This was the Glasgow Pact. The parties made a commitment to phase down use of coal and other fossil fuels subsidies. Okay, and the last COP, last year COP was in Dubai, COP28. In that, a loss and damage fund was created. The money from this fund would be used to help out developing countries suffering from climate related disasters. Okay, so this was also a big achievement. And what is COP29 going to be about? So it is said that COP29 would take a call on climate finance. Now, what is climate finance? You see, climate change is impacting every country in the world. Okay? And climate change is happening because for the past 200 years, rich and industrialized countries have emitted so much carbon that global temperatures are rising. Okay, so maximum emissions have been done by rich and industrialized countries. So it is the moral responsibility of rich and industrialized countries to provide money, finance to developing countries so that they can tackle, mitigate, and adapt to climate change. Okay, so this is the concept of climate finance. So climate finance is all about financing mitigation of climate change and adaptation to climate change, because developing countries don't have enough money to adapt to climate change to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So it is the moral responsibility of developed countries to provide that money so that developing countries can also adopt new technologies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, now there has been no major decision taken on climate finance so far. There have been talks, there have been mechanisms created in the past, but this COP29 would take a final call, hopefully, regarding climate finance. Okay, we'll see what happens because the conference is going on as we speak. All right. And now let's talk about the last news item, which is conversion of FPI to FDI. Okay, this news is about foreign investments. India is trying to attract as much foreign investment as possible because foreign investment would be crucial in India's growth story. Now, there are two types of foreign investments. Okay, first let's talk about that. Then we'll talk about what was in the news. So basically, there are two types of foreign investments: FDI, foreign direct investment; FPI, foreign portfolio investment. So when a foreign investor wants to start a company in India, is uh, is a part owner of a new company in India, is starting a new factory in India. Okay, for that that particular foreign investor is bringing money into India. That is known as FDI. So it involves a foreign investor acquiring a stake in the company or a project promoted by investor, institution, or government of India. So basically, FDI is that foreign investment which is used to do business in India. So basically, if a foreign investor is committing FDI, he basically desires to do business in India. Basically, he wants to set up a shop in India. Okay. This type of investment is long-term investment. Okay. And it requires various government approvals. But FPI is a short-term investment. FPI is not about setting up a shop in India. FPI is about investing in stocks and bonds of India. So basically, foreign investment which is for share market. Okay, these foreign investors are in India or investing in India to make a gain from India's share market or bond market. This is FPI. Whereas FDI, they don't want to make any gains from stock market or share market. They want to do business in India. So this is a long-term investment. This is short-term. Now, the thing is, government has very clear rules. If you buy shares in a company, if a foreign investor buys shares in a company, well, it would be considered FPI, right? But if he continues to buy shares of that company and his stake in that company becomes more than 10%, then he can convert his FPI to FDI. Okay, there are clear rules that FPI cannot be more than 10% share of a company. Okay, if the money invested in of a company goes beyond 10%, then this particular investor has the option of converting it into FDI. All right, this was what was in the news. RBI and SEBI have allowed FPIs to classify equity stakes excess of 10% in Indian companies as foreign direct investment. So now RBI and SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India, have made it easy for foreign portfolio investors who have invested more than 10% to convert their FPI into FDI. This would clearly ease or it will make ease of doing business in India better for foreign investors. Okay, you understand what FPI and FDI is? Now, what were the current rules? So, under Foreign Exchange Management Rules of 2019, investment made by the FPI should be less than 10%. Now, before this recent ruling of RBI and SEBI, if a foreign portfolio investor was found to have more than 10% in a company, then he was asked to diversify. Use the excess money to invest in some other company and reduce your stock holding in one particular company below 10%. Or convert your investment in FDI. Now, earlier foreign portfolio investors did not opt for converting their FPI to FDI. They would divest or diversify their portfolio. They would remove their investment from one particular company and invest that money into some other company, right? Because the rules were pretty tough for converting FPI to FDI. But now government has made it easy. Okay, this means that if a foreign portfolio investor acquires 22% stake in a company, he has the option of converting this extra 12% as FDI, okay, and keep that 10% as FPI. Okay, so this would really make it easier for foreign investors to invest in India. Therefore, more and more foreign investors would invest in India, and that would really help India's GDP. So, to make India an attractive destination for foreign investors, this ruling was made by RBI and SEBI. All right, that's all you need to know. That's about it. And with that, we conclude today's current affairs. Okay, today's lecture is over, but please do not forget to revise these current affairs from our PDF file, which is shared on our Telegram channel, and the link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section below. Please spend 20 to 25 more minutes in revising this lecture, because without revision, you would easily forget these current affairs in another couple of days. Okay, so if you want to keep these current affairs in your memory for longer periods of time, well, revision is important. So spend another 20 to 25 minutes. All right. Okay. On that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you next time with next day's current affairs. Thank you, everyone.